Hey everyone, today we happen to be making a dog gate for a crazy dog. This pup right here, see him? Look at him, Jax, look at him, look at him. It's crazy. We're trying to make a gate that he can't break through, climb over, or tear up, and chew on. Come on, Jack. He's crazy, you're crazy. Quit licking, stop. Look at the camera. Like everything else around here, there's lots of ways to do things. And that includes clamping this down and cutting it. Pick your favorite. I thought it'd be a pretty good idea to probably get these things painted before I did anything else because I want to give it plenty of time to dry so I don't scratch it all up, which I typically do. The main part of the construction of our gate is just going to be construction lumber because I don't even know how long we're gonna have to use this thing, so I don't wanna spend a lot of money on it, and I already had this stuff laying around. I'm using a 2x6, and I'm gonna be wasting a whole bunch of it because I'm cutting it down to only 3 inches wide. Most of these boards have the pith or the middle of the tree right in the middle, and that's what makes them warp. That's part of the reason what makes them warp. So we try to cut that out of there, and it makes the lumber a lot more stable. So after getting everything milled up, the next thing of course was trying to figure out what type of joinery I wanted to use. And for this, it's just construction lumber. I'm using lap joints because 1, they're easy to cut, and 2, they're pretty darn strong. Before we assemble this, of course, we need to drill the holes for our conduit pipe to be able to fit them in there at the same time that we do glue it together, or we won't get them in there, which will be a problem. And that's gonna be made much easier with this handy dandy marking tool that gives me even spacing. All I'm gonna do is put 1 mark on that end, 1 mark on this end, mark all the way across there, and I know I don't really care what the spacing is as long as it's narrow enough for the pup not to get his head caught in there. I just want them to be perfectly even. It'd be a pain in my arse to finish these inside of these gates after they're assembled because of all the conduit pipe we're gonna put in there. So I'm gonna do a little pre-finishing. I'm using this Minwax Wood Effects charred look. It's pretty much black stain if you ask me. I'm gonna put this on the inside where it's going to be hard to get to. And that way, once we have it assembled, we don't have to worry about that near as much. Welcome to the day after yesterday. And I gotta tell you, these were a bit surprising results. This stuff is supposed to be a charred look. I guess it's a charred look. I would call it more of like a super weathered, aged look. I'll show you what these look like. Not quite what I was going for, but I think we'll make it work. We're gonna layer in some other colors, I think, anyway. But yeah. So I'm gonna add a little bit of gray, and I watered it down quite a bit, probably, I don't know, 25% water, because I want to use it more as like a gray wash, not necessarily to cover everything up, so the dark will still show through. But I'm trying to, I don't want much of the yellowish wood color to show, so I'm hoping this kind of wash will fix that. We'll see. I kind of like that. It's like a silvery, weathered look. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. So I made a real dummy mistake. Don't think I can get through any project without having one of those. This one was kind of big, but I think I can fix it. The gate, the dimensions of my gate were pretty close to square. They were only a couple inches off. And for some dumb reason, I drilled the holes for the conduit in the height pieces instead of the width pieces. So as you can see, my fix is I planed off the top about 1/8 of an inch of the pieces that are incorrect. I had to remark out and re-drill the holes for the pieces that are correct. I cut these thin strips. I'm gonna have to glue them back onto these pieces, trim it, sand them down, restain them, and then I think it'll be okay for this. But this wastes like an hour and a half of my time at least to fix this, but at least I don't have to cut the pieces over again because that would be an even bigger pain than it already is. Damn it. This here is a great example of my stellar camera work as I was trying to show that I'm drilling for the dowels that I'm going to put in all these joints. I'm putting 2 dowels in each corner. I think that's going to be more than enough. You just couldn't really see that because my stupid arm was in the way. I decided to make my mount a little easier to mount by putting it on a mount. That way I can put screws in there a lot easier. So after all that crap, I got these cleaned back up. I put about 1/8 of an inch added on there, sanded it all back down. Yes, I'll have to refinish it, but I'm only worried about the inside right now. For this glue up, I'll go back and sand it and put more of the stain on there. But now, we're ready to glue up the big door, gate, whatever. Finally, case. This little extension piece, of course, is specific to my case. I've got a screwed up wall where we're trying to install this gate. Typically you wouldn't need it. I do. Oh, no, that's solid. Then I had this bright idea. I was gonna freehand these hinge mortises. That quickly panned out to be a big negative. So I made a super fast template, got the hinges routed out, give them a little test fit, and turns out that they fit pretty good. And it was on to the final coat of stain and finish for everything. So for my quote unquote dog proof portion of the gate, I'm just using some aluminum angle. I'm cutting some slots along the top corners of this where the little pup might put his paws up there and scratch the heck out of it. I really think it's gonna be more than strong enough for this little guy. And if you wanted to, if you had a bigger dog, you could easily add more either pieces of angled aluminum or flat pieces of aluminum if your dog kind of scratches at the front of the gate. Welcome to the tiny stairway that we're going to be installing the gate with our wonderful echo and everything. Let's get started. So first things first, we got to extend this wall to meet the top of the stairs so that the gate actually will hold the pup back. So we want to level this up, mount this into the end of this wall, and then we can move on to the gate. I apologize because we got trim and paint to finish, but this pup needed a gate because he had destroyed way too many. So I'm going to awkwardly film and light this tiny space and try to put in some screws without screwing that up, which I stumbled through it and got it done okay. And then we can put the gate up to where it's supposed to be, swing it, make sure it swings right, and it does, thankfully. Then it's time to mount that sucker to the studs in the wall, 4-inch deck screws. It's going nowhere. I promise you it's really solid. Time to put on some hardware, and this thing is pretty much done. Right after we put a little bit of tension into the hinges to make sure it closes automatically. One last detail of a little bump stop with some soft leather on it, and this sucker is done.